divinity. Wow. Or you are the Pandit in India, you with a long beard and your mind is full of knowledge. Not the true. India always has had, at any given time, true teachers that are empty and spacious, who don't necessarily know very much. They're not necessarily highly educated. Some of the greatest Indian teachers knew virtually nothing, from Ramakrishna to Nisargadatta to Brahmana Maharshi. Didn't have much of an education. Some of them no education whatsoever. Ramana Maharshi never attended school beyond the age of 16. Nisargadatta was a seller of cigarettes. He had a little stall selling cigarettes. Hadn't read many books. And yet, there was the true, it came through them. And then there were all the great scholars with accumulated knowledge, and they thought of themselves as spiritual. So as long as your mind is full of stuff only, without any space in between the stuff, there's nothing spiritual there. The spiritual dimension is absent. You don't know it. Of course it's there somewhere, but it's obscured if you don't know it. A famous scholar visited Krishnamurti in India, and this famous scholar started talking to him in Sanskrit. And Krishnamurti said, "I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying." And he said, "What, you don't know Sanskrit? You haven't studied Sanskrit?" He was amazed that the famous Krishnamurti didn't speak Sanskrit. But of course he didn't go through knowledge. It was freedom from the known, which means freedom from your mind, freedom from the accumulations in your mind, from mind forms, freedom from thinking, which is also freedom from time. The first, when the power of now, the writing came, and halfway through, it came to me that the title would be Freedom from Time. And for a while that was the working title, so to speak. And so when people said, "What do you do? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing a book." So do you have a title? Yes, I think it's probably called Freedom from Time. And then later, with talking to a publisher and getting other feedback, that was, of course, a negative way of putting it. Freedom from takes away something. And then the realization came that a positive statement would be more powerful. So it became the power of now. Which, yes, you could believe in it, but it's a little bit too vague to really believe in the power of now if you're not, okay, where is it? It must be now. So you can't project like the kingdom of heaven. You can say it's going to come at some point, I'm going to reach it, or at some point it's going to descend. But with the power of now you can't really do that, because the now is going to come soon. It doesn't work. So this is the main task then is for you, let's put it like this, to step out of thought, take every opportunity you have to step out of thought, and so that there's the arising of presence. That gradually then the person gradually loses its density, and far greater power, source power, comes through the person. It can still operate through the person, yes, it can still use the person's mind, but it transcends who you are as a person. So use every opportunity to step out of thought, not falling below thought, rising above thought. We're not talking about sleepiness, but alertness. And from the point of view of the mind, this is not a significant thing when you become still, because from the point of view of the conceptual egoic mind, stillness is not a high priority in your life, or presence. The egoic mind has many other things to think about, to worry about, to be concerned about, than presence. Says, presence? You've got so much on your mind, please. When you retire, you can go there. Or sort out your problems first. It might even say, you're denying your problems. Now, we are not saying that you should enter a state of passivity. Don't equate presence with becoming passive, so that you are incapable of taking action anymore. It says, I'm just present, I'm not doing anything anymore. That would be an erroneous way of looking upon presence. No, presence very often becomes most powerful when you couple it with action, bring it into doing. And you start with simple thing, as I mentioned, making a cup of tea in presence. And then you graduate to more difficult things. As I said before, you pick up the phone and inquire about your finances in presence, or something went wrong, and see if you can stay present while you deal with things. So there's a foreground, dealing with life, taking action, and in the background you sense the spaciousness still. Then there's some detachment. You do things with detachment, but powerfully you give it attention, and that attention is the presence flowing out. A continuous practice, and so you grow then in presence power. But the ego doesn't know about that, because to the ego, presence power doesn't mean much. It doesn't know about that, and it fears it, because really you as the person are just the blockage. You have to lose your density, the mind density, so that the power can come through. Deny yourself, Jesus said. Deny thyself. That means recognize the unreality of that mind-made self. And then you deny it, you realize that's not who you are, and then the presence is there. Well, that is probably enough. So this is it. The book probably won't look like that now. This is an old edition, if you want to read it. It's mentioned here, I mentioned to you earlier, he dissolved the organization that they created for him and walked away, and he said at that time that truth cannot be found through any sect or religion, but only by freeing oneself from all forms of conditioning. And he said, you can form other organizations and expect someone else. With that I am not concerned, nor with creating new cages. My only concern is to set men absolutely, unconditionally free.